What's up, y'all? My name is Devontae, and I sacrificed my time so you don't have to. Before we get into the Dynamite video tonight, and again, timestamps are in the description box below if you want to skip ahead, there are a couple things that I want to talk about that was circulating in the news today, and I'm kind of happy that I made the Scott D'Amore video a standalone, because there is something that I do want to talk about, and I know people who have been discussing the whole John Laurinaitis and him throwing Vince McMahon under the bus. It's just a part of this whole Vince McMahon sex trafficking arc that's ongoing right now at the moment. And, well, we have a new citation, I guess, right? We have a new subtopic underneath this topic, because apparently John Laurinaitis is now going out of his way, along with Vince McMahon, if I'm not mistaken, claiming that this was, because there's a bunch of allegations about the late Ashley Massaro, and I remember hearing the story, back in 2019, I think, like right around the time Ashley passed away. You know, they were talking about Ashley allegedly being raped by one of the army doctors across seas during the Kuwait tour they had back in like 2005 or 2006. Well, here, check it out. In the wake of the recent sexual assault and sex trafficking lawsuit against Vince McMahon, another case involving rape allegations in the WWE resurfaced again. By the way, the link is down in the description box below if you want to follow along. This time, the case was involving Ashley Massaro. Following her tragic demise in 2019, an affidavit was publicly available where she claimed that WWE helped cover up that she was sexually assaulted at a military base in 2007. Or was it 07? I thought it was 06. Whatever. At the time, WWE issued a statement denying any wrongdoing. Now, John Laurinaitis is the latest to issue a statement responding to Ashley's allegations. The former WWE executive lawyer Edward Brennan issued a statement to Vice.com denying that he covered up her rape allegations. The statement further claimed that WWE followed all the protocols that were in place at the time. And I quote, "Any allegations that Mr. Laurinaitis helped to cover up an alleged rape allegation is an outright lie. Johnny," why are they calling him Johnny? What? That's so weird. His name is John. Shouldn't they be taking this a lot more seriously? Why are they calling him Johnny? Johnny, like most upper-level management, at some time became aware of the allegations and ensured all proper WWE protocols were followed, including privacy for the alleged victim. We object to the use of the term cover-up, as no such plan or plot ever took place to hide or assist in the alleged rape. Laurinaitis, everything else is just pretty much just as we discussed this in the past already. If you guys want to, I have another link down if you didn't see it already. Right underneath this, there's a video that was, and I think this is something, again, guilty until proven innocent. And mind you, I'm a person who absolutely believes there was a cover-up when it comes to rape. That's my belief. But at the same time, I'm still a part of the whole guilty, innocent until proven guilty, club. And we'll just, because it's not as if this is like a situation with other situations where like, oh, it's just coming out of nowhere. Like, no, this is something that's been talked about for a few years now, and it's now just being incorporated inside of this whole situation in regards to sex trafficking. Now, again, that has nothing to do with that situation in particular, but it's more so just proof to, it's more so just evidentiary proof, right? It's pretty much coinciding with what's been going on with the sex trafficking stuff. And if you ask me, do I believe that Vince and John Laurinaitis covered it up? Personally, yes, I believe that they did cover it up. Do I believe that Vince McMahon did shit on that girl's head? Yes. My problem with the sex trafficking thing is more so just claiming it to be sex trafficking and playing Janelle as being the victim, when I don't absolutely believe that at all. Talked about that 1,000,001 times. Ashley, on the other hand, if she was legit, because if I'm not mistaken, I think it goes like she was injected with some type of drug that paralyzed her, and the army doctor essentially had his way with her. do with that as you will, right? And, you know, if this is true, obviously, guilty until innocent until proven guilty. And if this is true, I mean, what more can you say? Everybody in this is a monster. They're horrifically terrible, disgusting people. Multiple things could be said at once in regards to multiple cases, and they're disgusting. But I was going to say, in the link down in the description box below, Paul London, I actually have 2 videos. There's one from a couple of weeks ago with him talking about the whole sex trafficking stuff, and Paul London, who at the time, I don't know if he was dating Ashley, or if Matt Hardy, that is, was dating Ashley Massaro at the time. But I know Ashley, according to Paul, ran to her, and like she was crying and telling them all these things that were going on. You know, I think there was a story he talked about in regards to her being in a hotel room, and I think he said Kevin Dunn or Bruce Pritchard, one of those two, was like consistently knocking on her door to obviously do some stuff when she didn't want to. Again, I'll leave the link down in the description box below. Obviously, it's hard to prove any of this, you know, with confirmation, because Ashley is no longer here. But I'll let you guys be the judge of this. I just wanted to bring it up to everyone's attention. Again, the link is down in the description box below if you want to look any of this up. But with that being said, let's get into the AEW review. That's clever booking. That's really, really clever booking. I can count literally on one hand, like literally on one hand, how many times I've seen a double turn. That is incredibly rare. And even better, it's incredibly rare to pull it off effectively. Now, there are a bunch of things about this match that I didn't like, but there are a bunch of things about this match that I absolutely liked, and it completely outweighs what I didn't like. So we're going to actually break this down little by little, because if you look at it on the basis of a match, you can sit here. I mean, I can understand people who are going to sit back and say that this was an excellent match if you're just looking strictly at the spots, the athleticism, and quite frankly, the selling. The selling in this match is actually really good. But then there are other people who can objectively take this down, and they can look at it and be like, it was a stupid decision to have this opening up the show. It just kind of tells me that you don't know how to, because if you're putting this in the opening of the show, and here's one of the, judging by how this match went, I will say that it doesn't have much to do with trying to capture the audience. Maybe that might have something to do with it. I'm not going to just say that completely dismisses it, but I wouldn't be surprised if it has more to do with time management. You know what I mean? And if you can't structure your card accordingly to make this the main event, because this, nothing's going to top this, and you're going to drain your crowd completely. You know what I mean? And you put so much emphasis on the opener of the card, and nothing can ever follow up with it, that, I mean, if I wasn't reviewing the show, I'll just turn it off. There's literally no reason. Now, I know people will probably be like, well, you want to wait for Tony Khan's announcement, right? That's about it, honestly. Once you get the Tony Khan's announcement, you can essentially turn this off. And really, you don't even have to do that, because you could just look up the news, right? This was pretty much the only match that was worth watching for the most part. Nothing else. No one gives a shit about Jericho and Goku. No one else gives a shit about any of the other stuff on this card. It was essentially, even the tag team title match for that most part, I wouldn't even see people care about that all too much. It was all about Swerve, and it was all about Hangman. That's the only thing people cared about. And to put this in the opener, I feel like you drain your audience, and no one's going to effectively follow this. You know what I'm saying? Not to mention, you're doing so much, bruh. Like, you're doing so much. In the opener, it's just like, dude, you still have the... And it's not to say that Joe and Paige and Swerve, which will be a three-way coming up at Revolution. It's not as if I'm hiding the ball here. Everybody knew this was going to happen. I'm not spoiling anything. It's not as if they're not going to top each other from this match right here. I'm pretty sure it's going to be an excellent match. But what's the point? Here, hang on. Let me see what Joe's going to say. Hang on. Ooh, perfect. A women's match. So I can actually give my undivided attention to all this real quick. Okay. Oh, actually, no, it's a women's promo. Oh, no. It's a women's match. She's on commentary. Nice. Okay, yeah. All my undivided attention to this entire segment right here. So back to what I was saying. You're doing so much. It's not to say that they can't top themselves at the pay-per-view, but why even go through all of this? The table spots, right? I mean, you even had a botch a little bit with one of the tables, but it wasn't that big of a deal. But the table spots, the multiple kick out of finishers, all of this, did you really have to do that? I get the time limit draw. In fact, I was kind of figuring that that's what they were going to do to begin with last week. So it's not as if I'm going to come at this and be like, oh, that's a bad, booking decision. That's a correct booking decision. But it's just like all the things that went into it in order to get that, and this is not me, shitting on the match or anything like that. It's just like looking at it. I mean, I guess you could say to a certain degree, I'm not concerned, but it's more so leaning towards that in regards to the attitude. You didn't really have to do all that, in my opinion, because it's just less things that, how can I put this? You put yourselves into a position where that's less things you can do in the next match, and now you're going to try to top yourselves in that match, and what are you going to do? You know what I mean? But again, outside of little small things like that, it was a fine match. It was a fine booking decision. But I think what everybody wants to talk about, and I gotta say, well done in regards to how they did this, is the double turn. The first double turn I've ever seen in my entire life was Austin and Brett, WrestleMania 13. The second that I've ever seen in my entire life was about 16 years later, with Dolph Ziggler and Alberto Del Rio. And 11 years later, we got another double turn. I mean, that's essentially what this was, right? Swerve came into the match as a heel, even though the fans were cheering him, and it was kind of weird, and not weird in the sense it was a bad thing, but weird in the sense that I wasn't really expecting the announcers. They probably shouldn't have done that, just to make it feel a little bit more authentic. They shouldn't have played into the whole, oh, the audience are booing Hangman, and they're doing the whole Bizarro World type of rhetoric. You didn't have to do that. I mean, I kind of thought that was a little bit campy. You should have just let it play out a little bit more, you just let it play out, the audience are doing their thing, okay, and just go off of what the characters are doing in the ring. You don't have to acknowledge what the audience is doing, because it just makes the double turn a little bit less effective, you know what I mean? Not to say that it wasn't effective, it just hurts it, in my opinion. But nevertheless, though, they were cheering Swerve Strickland, and they were booing Hangman Adam Page, and they came into the match, and Swerve was playing the heel, like his normal role, and it looked to be that Hangman was playing his normal role as a babyface. He was selling like a babyface, and, Swerve was the one that was in charge. But as the match started to progress, as it started going just little by little by little, they flipped the roles, and now Hangman is working like the heel, and Swerve is working like the babyface. It was a part, once you got to the part when Swerve went for the Swerve stump, and he injured his ankle, from that point on, it's like Swerve they just flip-flopped. Hangman's a heel and Swerve's a babyface, which is, I thought that was unique. Because I've never seen a double turn done that way before. You know what I mean? Yes, with a double turn, usually it's the crowd leaning more and more week after week towards the guy who eventually becomes the babyface, while week after week, the guy who's turning heel is the one that's usually the opposition of the crowd's ire. You know what I'm trying to say? But this was the first time that I've ever actually seen that switch progress throughout the match. You know what I'm trying to say? With Brett, he was doing a bunch of things week after week after week that kind of built up into a crescendo where you got the double turn. With Alberto Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler, kind of the same thing, you know what I mean? Not to mention, they started the match off with Del Rio attacking Ziggler's head the entire time. That's how that played out. But with Swerve and Hangman, the difference comes into play where it's they both legitimately started off the match as a heel and as a babyface, and that's how they came into this week after week after week after week. You know what I mean? Last week, there was no inclination of thinking to yourself that Swerve was a babyface and, Heyman was a heel like it would have been for a Bret Hart. You know what I'm trying to say? There was nothing in regards to, say, Del Rio and Dolph Ziggler where they went into the match and Del Rio just started attacking them like a heel. No, they both went into this like it was a normal match. There was nothing in my mind thinking that this was going to be a double turn. And as the match started to go on, they just flip-flopped in the middle of the match, which I thought was pretty clever booking. I can't front on that. I thought that was really, really cool. And essentially the conclusion came where it was a time limit draw. You know, Swerve he actually had Hangman, and that's something else too I'll give them credit for. This was legitimate. If you look at the time, I noticed when the time limit when Justin Roberts he called for the 5-minute time limit, right? It was like 8:29 when he called for it. And when they went for the pinfall, I'll be damn, it was 8:34. So it was legit. It was legitimately a time limit draw. He said 5 minutes, and the match actually did go for 5 minutes. I did notice that. So that was actually pretty consistent. That was clever. I can't front on that either. So at least it made sense. You know, it wasn't just like, oh, he went for the pin cover and all of a sudden, nah, it actually was 5 minutes. And after the match, Swerve, he asked for 5 more minutes because he's trying to prove a point to, you know, Hangman. And Hangman is just like, nah, you're not going to get this 5 minutes because my entire goal was to make sure that you weren't going to get a shot at the world title, which obviously the fans booed, and boom, there you go. Hangman's a heel, and I presume Swerve is now a babyface. It was even a point in the match when Hangman, he hit Prince Nana with a steel chair in the back. You know, when Nana beforehand was encouraging, because it was a spot when Swerve, I forgot what Hangman did to him to get him on the floor. I think it was maybe a dead eye on the apron. I can't remember. And he was getting back into the ring, a babyface move, by the way, by a 10 count. And as soon as he got in the ring, Swerve, because like Nana was kind of like, you know, doing this little Swerve dance to kind of encourage him to get back in the ring, and Swerve made it in by like the 9 3/4, and then Hangman baseball slid him out of the ring. He got a chair, and then he hit Prince Nana with it. And you know, certain things like that, again, I can't hate on the booking. There were things that I felt that they did a little bit too much of, but then the other things that were good completely outweigh the bad. You get what I'm saying? And I thought this was fantastic overall. And after the match, you know, you had Samoa Joe, who was backstage, and he was essentially like pissed off. Like, why the fuck do these guys get to get a title shot, you know, when it was a draw, which he's not wrong. And not to mention also, like, I guess, you know, I guess like, I'm just going to bring up the elephant in the room. I mean, Hangman has every right to feel this way. I mean, Swerve did, you know, break into his house. I'm just saying, it's kind of like Austin and Brett with their double turn. I mean, Austin did kind of fuck over Brett a lot of times, and the audience absolutely were turning heel on Brett rather than Brett turning heel on the audience. So it's like, you know, the only one that had like a legitimate like reason to be, you know, a face versus a heel is Dolph Ziggler and Del Rio. Like, Austin was a heel still, and Swerve, I mean, he was a heel still as far as his actions are concerned. But them's the rules right there, man. But all of this was excellent, and I can't wait to look. I'm looking forward to the triple threat match. Although I am kind of curious, is Joe going to retain, and then we're going to get another person to go after the world championship? Because I do feel like Swerve can win the world title now if they really want to. Or better yet, you can give the belt to Adam Page and have Swerve chase him up until Double or Nothing. That's probably what I would do. I'd give the belt to Hangman Adam Page and have Swerve, you know, chase him some more to Double or Nothing. And then, if you want to, have Page beat him at Double or Nothing. And then you could build all this up into the Wembley show, and then Swerve can finally get his title at the Wembley show. That's just me, though. But overall, though, the booking for this, again, positives and negatives. Positives absolutely outweigh the negatives. But overall, good shit. I liked it a lot. But yeah, with that being said, not talking about the women's match, although I want to say, you know, touching on this really quick because Toni Storm is in the match, and usually I don't skip over her matches, looking like an absolute fucking snack. With that being said, though, continue on to the next match. See what I mean, man? This is what I'm talking about. You could have built that whole entire opener. You could have built that. Honestly, you should have just had Sting and Darby Allin open up the show for the Tag Team Championship belts, bro. That would have been the way to go. You had 2 matches, in my opinion, that could have held the attention for the crowd. You should have opened up with that Tag Team title match. And then you should have ran an angle with Paige and Swerve in order to keep that momentum going towards the main event. This right here, this is what I'm talking about. All the steam from the show has been let out, bruh. There's nothing else anyone gives. I can tell, okay, I can't speak for the AEW faithful, but for people like me, you just let all the steam out of the show, and now I just don't simply give a fuck. You had 2 back-to-back matches that legitimately I don't care about. Like, okay, cool, you're trying to build heat. You could have done... Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo legitimately have a story as far as a history is concerned. Maybe you should have played into that with an angle, and then you could have done the 6-man tag match like this. Even though I wouldn't have given a shit about it, because none of these teams have any heat. I don't give a shit about anybody from AAA or CMLL or whatever the fuck over the border goddamn promotion we're talking about. I don't give a shit about any of that, right? But if you would have ran an angle in between all that and gave some room to breathe so we can actually take in what just happened earlier on in the night, then we could have probably digested another segment. That's the booking of, man, one of Tony Khan's biggest problems as far as like fundamentally how his show is edited is his booking. His booking style is just super fucking erratic and it makes no sense at all. I remember Jim Ross during his podcast, he had this term that Vince McMahon used to use whenever they were booking their matches. And whenever you had a really hot match, or if you had something of substance on the card, the next thing on the card would be this thing called a Let Me Up match, right? Where essentially you'll throw the divas out there. You'll throw, say, a cruiserweight match out there for about 2 minutes to do their thing. Or you throw the Right to Censor out there to cut a promo to get some heat. But that would usually happen after a really banging angle or a really dope match. And to have that match take place, and then you go into another match, and then you go into another match, and both of these matches for the most part have no heat to them at all. Like, it's just too much. This 6-man tag match I did not give a shit about. Not one bit. It has no heat to it. I know nothing about the superstars on the opposite side that's opposing Bryan Danielson, that's opposing Cesaro, that's opposing Jon Moxley. Like, I just don't give a single fuck. And then the actual booking in regards to the finish made absolutely no sense too. So you go through all those trials and tribulations, all those spots. Oh, hang on. Let me see what Tony's saying. He has an announcement. Hang on. Bro! Stop! Bruh! Stop saying you have major announcements when this bullshit is not fucking major! Bruh! There was no need to fucking make this an announcement! Homie! This could have been a fucking tweet! What are you doing? Bruh, he's clickbaiting us. He's a fucking lone cow for real. He's clickbaiting us on live television. Bruh, there was no fucking reason to say that this was a big announcement. Now, I get it. In 5 weeks, you had this event called Big Business. Keyword, folks, business. Obviously, that's alluding to Sasha Banks. You get it? Mone, Banks, business. We get it. I understand that's Sasha Banks without you saying Sasha Banks. But my nigga, you said there was going to be a big announcement on this show. Homie, just fucking tweet it. Fucking tweet it, you clickbait asshole. You know what you're doing when you say shit like that. Oh, he's such a low cow. Oh, bro. He's such a fucking lol cow. Okay, so essentially Sasha Banks is going to be here next month. Okay, we all got the gist of that. I just don't know why he had to fucking call this a big announcement. Back to what I was saying though in regards to the shitty booking of the show so far. Oh man, so after all the nonsense that happened with, you know, the 6-man tag match that I don't give a fuck about, I'm pretty sure no one else gives a fuck about unless you're really in the weeds when it comes to AEW or indie wrestling. Again, no one gave a fuck about any of this. No one gave a fuck about Toni Storm going up against Red Velvet Kate when you could have used that entire time, that entire segment. Maybe you could have did something in regards to running a package about their history between Toni Storm and Deonna Purrazzo. 1 week you could have focused on a Deonna Purrazzo. The next week you could focus on, you know, fucking Toni Storm. Time could have been dedicated to that. Then you could have cut backstage and maybe you could have had something with Samoa Joe approaching one of the two competitors that he's going to have a match match with in a couple of weeks. No, we waste our time with this. We waste our time with that. We waste our time with so much bullshit. And then you have this shitty angle backstage, if you even want to call it that, with the fucking Undisputed Kingdom, because they're so over right now, right? They beat the shit out of fucking Chuck Taylor. No one gives a shit about anybody in the stable. No one gives a shit about Chuck Taylor. Just so much unnecessary shit. The best thing on this show was the opener, and that's something that you should have built up into in the main event. Now I don't give a fuck about any of this, and you took all the steam, again, out of what will be the main event, and Sting and Darby Allin versus Big Wild Bill Hiccup and fucking Ricky Starks for the tag team championships. That should have been reversed, and you should have been building up into the main event, and now we have Jericho and Takeshita in the ring right now, so let's get to that, as if I give a shit about this also. Alright, solid angle to close out this show. I'm not even gonna touch on Jericho and Takeshita, because honestly, it was really fucking boring. Like, it was just really, really boring. And Don Callis hit Jericho in the head with a screwdriver, and Konosuke Takeshita locked the man in the walls of Jericho and kind of transitioned in what it looked like to be the Lion Tamer. I couldn't tell. He didn't really do it appropriately. You're supposed to put the knee behind Jericho's head for the Lion Tamer to actually be executed. But I think I heard the announcers call it the Lion Tamer. No, it wasn't. That was just a very, very, very high angle walls of Jericho. Yes, I'm going to be a nerd about this. Jericho's my favorite wrestler of all time. I know what a fucking Lion Tamer looks like. That ain't no motherfucking Lion Tamer. If anything, Jericho's been doing the Boston Crab this whole entire time, and Konosuke was doing the Boston Crab, and he just actually did Jericho's Walls of Jericho appropriately. That's a 2001 Walls of Jericho. That ain't no motherfucking Lion Tamer. But put that to the side for a second, because again, that's not worth talking about. It was a dumb angle. I mean, who cares? Or a dumb match. I don't know. I didn't really care for it. What I want to talk about is this main event, because in all honesty, this entire show is literally the opener and the main event. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't have to watch nothing. This entire middle portion you can throw away. Once you get around 8:45 to 9:45, that entire portion right there, just throw it away. Watch from 8 to 8:40 or 8 to 8:45, and then watch from 9:45 to 10:05. That's all you need to really watch, honestly, which, in my opinion, is a good batting average, which means this show to me was a success. The middle of the entire show was just absolute fucking trash, but the opener and the main event was actually pretty good. The match in itself was solid. I did like that little spot. So Darby Allin, he went for a suicide dive, and then one fluid, that was actually really, really fucking dope. He went for a suicide dive on Wild Bill Hiccup, and in one smooth move, he went for a suicide dive, and Bill just caught him and then fucking hit him with a boss man slam or a black hole slam, or however you like to fucking talk about. That was really cool. I'm not gonna lie, that was one of my favorite spots I've seen so far this entire year. That was a really, 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 really cool ass spot, just because it was so fucking smooth how he actually hit it. But yeah, we have a new tag team champions. You know, what's his name? Ricky Starks tried to go for a spear on Sting, and Sting caught him in a hairlock. He transitioned him into the Scorpion Deathlock, or a Scorpion Death Drop, and he got the win. Hit him with it, got the pin. That's it. New tag team champions. And you have Sting's sons in the audience, which, Jesus Christ, poor Sting. If there was ever a chance, like, say for an example, Sting was fucking a bunch of girls, right? And he happened to fuck the mother of his children. And, like, if he ever wanted to say, that ain't my child, like, you can't put me on child support, bitch. If that was ever his argument, that shit went down the fucking toilet. His sons look like a spitting, and first off, his sons look like a spitting image of each other, and then both of them together, like, that is literally fucking Surfer Sting. Both of them. Like, that's literally Sting in 1989. That face, the face on both of his sons, that is Sting in 1989. He was just screwed. The genetics was strong with this one. I mean, this is like Brock Lesnar and his daughter in regards to, like, the fucking resemblance. It is so insane. Like, his kids have more resemblance to him than The Rock's daughter does to him. And that's saying something. Go look at his kids and go look at Sting in 1989. They're fucking twins. He was screwed. But essentially they got in the ring and they're all celebrating, confetti's being shot everywhere. Oh, Sting, you get your title back. You won 2,000 titles. You won 2,000 titles. 2,000, I say 1,000, holy shit, maybe even 2,000, I don't know. But while they're celebrating in the ring, the Young Bucks, they attack them. They have like these white suits on, which I know what they're trying to do. That's an old Ric Flair trick. I mean, but they're doing it with clothes. Ric Flair, he used to wear blonde hair. I mean, he wore the blonde hair because, you know, that was just the thing back in the days. You know, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, he had blonde hair. But that was just a thing that they did back in the days because that was just like the ultimate dick move. I mean, honestly, I thought it was kind of more so playing into like just American stereotypes as far as blonde hair and blue eyes, but nevertheless though, that was kind of the thing, you know, back in the days. But also Flair used to like to have the blonde hair because when he bleed, it would add more of a dynamic. Whenever it would go in his hair, it would just look way more dramatic. It was kind of the same type of the same type of thing that they were trying to get over with this when they wore the white suits. So like they wore the white suits and they come in with these white bats and they beat the shit out of Sting's sons and Sting and Darby Allin. Sting got busted open. Oh, no, excuse me. Actually, I don't know. Did Sting get busted open? Maybe a little bit. But Darby Allin damn sure got busted open. And all his blood was all over the Young Bucks white suit. Again, I see what they were trying to do as far as the white suit so it could look more dramatic when the blood actually goes on it. And that was really good. You know, they beat the ever-loving shit out of all the guys in the ring. You know, then they... you know, I mean, I thought it was kind of corny, but, you know, they're heels, so it works. I heard Excalibur say, because they hit the BTE trigger on Sting, or Darby Allin, and Excalibur, he's like, they don't call it the BTE trigger anymore. They call it the EVP trigger. That's so fucking cringe, bro. But that's fine. It works for them, because they're heels, right? They're supposed to be cringe. And, you know, it's fun. I like this whole little heel turn. They came off as uber dicks in this entire post-match beatdown. All of that was fun. I loved it. Great closing angle. Again, tonight, overall, if you take into context the opener and the closing match, this was a damn good show. I wouldn't say, not a damn good show, because that middle portion was just fucking trash. But the opener and again, maybe a similar grade to last week, but I think I enjoyed this show a lot more, just because the opener and the closer did take up a good chunk of the amount of time for the show. So, like, it took up 2/3 of the show. Like, 1/3 of the show was the opener, the second third of the show was the main event, and maybe you could say the third half of the show was probably the main event, but I'm probably being a little bit generous there, because it was only like 20 minutes overall. Again, overall, I'd probably give it like a solid C show just because of the opener and the main event, but it did deliver on those accounts. I will say, though, there are certain things about the show when it comes to the booking that still kind of irks me. Again, the way that they paced the show was very erratic, kind of mind-boggling to a certain degree. I still think that they maybe should have had the opener be the main event, and then you could have built up into that, and then whatever what closed the show should have opened, and maybe you could have had a segment in the middle of the card that kind of came back to the nursing office or something like that, or the, you know, the trainer's room, and then you can have them, you know, say something on the lines of, you know, if the Young Bucks won a match, all they had to do was ask, we accept, or some shit along the lines of that. That's what they could have done, but they kind of did it in reverse. And I know what they were trying to do as far as capture of the audience. I know what they were trying to do in regard. At first I said time management. I probably can't say that now because they went over the time for this tag team match. So it actually just was audience capture overall, I guess whatever. But aside from that, and again, you know, having a bunch of nonsensical shit, that 6-man tag match absolutely should have been on Collision, and you should have probably put Edge and Christian. I know, you guys forgot about that, right? Edge and Christian are still a thing. You could have probably did something along the lines with that, you know, showing them off, because they are still a thing. Adam Copeland, Hall of Famer, Edge, he's still there. Probably could have followed up on, you know, something like Jeff Hardy in this heel turn. Would have been nice if you ran some vignettes on Willow. Instead, we give 15 minutes to a 6-man tag match no one gives a shit about. Again, time management was absolutely atrocious when it came to the show. Booking and placement and pacing and, like, you know, the flow of the show was absolutely horrific. But just focusing on the opener and the main event, those two actually deliver, and I'm okay with that. I'll be charitable, and I will say that's good enough to at least get a C. And a C is a passing grade. But let me know your thoughts down, regardless, I guess, the show. You can hear that I'm getting out of breath right now, bro. I'm ready to go to fucking bed right now. Actually, I gotta go to court tomorrow, bro. Damn, man. I can't get into it, but I gotta go to court tomorrow. So let me get ready to go to bed. You guys let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. There we go. I finally got that shit out. Did you like the show? Is there anything that you would have switched about the show? Do you disagree with anything that I said in regards to the show? Do you think Tony Khan is an over-embellishing, stupid-ass mark who keeps clickbaiting his fans with this announcement bullshit? Let me know your thoughts down below. Oh, and also, how do you feel about Mercedes Mone? I don't know. By the way, now that I know it's confirmed now. I read this article. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I got to get out of here. But it said that, actually, I'll link it down in the description box also if you guys want to read it. It said that, I'll read an excerpt before I bounce out of here. Let's see. While there was contemplation over, let me see, where is it? Essentially, man, read the goddamn article yourself, all right? Essentially, Mercedes Mone is already on payroll, essentially. Again, if you want to get more depth into the article, I'll have it down in the description box below. I gotta go to bed, man. As always, my name is Devontae, and I'll be catching you guys later. Deuces and the motherfucking P-Ice. Bitches.